Alright, well I guess we're doing another one of these, so hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another one of our weekly Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 2 discussion videos. Today we're here to talk all about Episode 3, extracurricular activities. Of course they're not normal, but before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you're here, and with that said, let's go ahead and dig into this week's episode, shall we? And right away, I gotta say that we get three separate little stories this week, which is par for the course when it comes to Dragon Maid. Just like I shouldn't say episodes, but mini stories sort of split up into one big episode. This week we get Ilulu sort of like learning to overcome her past somewhat, not completely, but somewhat. We get Kobayashi's maid outfit, and we get Toru getting a hobby. And obviously we're going to start by talking about Ilulu. And I'm not going to lie, Ilulu, I have seen and heard some discourse around the character. I like Ilulu. I know a lot of people might find her grating, and the design is, well, we've talked a little bit about it last week. I don't think the design is bad. I think the design's quite good, but I do understand that the assets are a bit exaggerated, shall we say. Definitely a bit exaggerated. I get it, is all I'm saying. Like, if you told me that you didn't like the design, I'd understand. I like the color choice in the design, because you guys know I'm a big fan of like color theory and stuff like that. I think the colors chosen for the design make a lot of sense. But I get that, you know, the Opie is kind of too big, given her stature / her character's nature of being sort of a younger character. Not so much younger, but like acting younger, so I can understand why the Opie would be, you know, a bit disconcerting. I don't really see Ilulu like that. I see her as sort of like a young adult who is sort of lost, you know, like they didn't have much of a childhood, so she's sort of like being allowed to just be lazy and be a bit youthful, while still being, you know, a sort of neat / hikikomori type adult, you know, like later in life. That's how I see Ilulu. I don't know if other people see her the same way, but that's how I see her. That said, I do get where people are coming from, because she does act sort of like younger, right? So I do understand, and I totally respect if people ain't into Ilulu as a character. I don't think I will say this before anybody says like, oh, you just like her because blah, blah. She is not waifu material. I will tell you that right now. Ilulu is absolutely not waifu material. I just think the character's cool, and I just kind of want to see good things happen for her. She's like a best girl candidate for me instead of like a waifu. I just think she's cool, and I just want good things for her. Another character, if you want a character, rather, that I don't really like that much in this show, that would be Saikawa. And they take up a good chunk of the episode. So Saikawa's basically here to essentially help Ilulu get over her past actions, as it were. And Saikawa is just Saikawa through most of the episode. I don't really like this character that much. Like, she's funny sometimes, but like, Kana's like my daughter, you know, like Kana is like my daughteru. So I don't exactly appreciate Saikawa being really creepy towards Kana. Like, it really makes me uncomfortable. And on top of that too, like, before anybody says like, oh, well, they're both just kids. Yes, but this show is not being written by kids, is it? So it's weird. It's always gonna be weird. I don't like the way Saikawa acts around Kana. It's very odd. I know some people think it's cute. I don't. I think it's kind of weird. But again, people have different boundaries of what is weird and what isn't, right? Like, I think Ilulu's perfectly fine. Some people dislike the character. I think Saikawa's a little bit creepy. Other people like the character, right? So it's like, it's fine. I think we can all agree to be adults and not freak out. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. And my 2 cents is that I don't really like Saikawa that much. Like, do I think Kana's adorable? Yes, of course, right? She's my dragon daughter. But why you gotta be like lusting over Kana? You know, it's weird, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's weird. I don't care what age Saikawa is. It's weird because it's being written by adults. So it's weird. It's really weird. That's just me. And Kana is adorable, right? Don't get me wrong. Kana is very cute. This whole episode, right? Especially like later on when she's like, when we find out her hobby is like walking along the street, the lines on the street, And she's like, if I fall, I die, right? Which is definitely a thing kids did. Like, I know I did that, where I would, like, walk on certain things, and I'm like, if I fall into lava or something. So yeah, Kanna's definitely just being adorable this week. But again, the big focus of Ilulu's episode or story this week is sort of learning to get over her past actions, which I think is, like, legitimately very well handled, because it's not like she just fully recovers, right? She's, like, not fully over her past. And Lukoa is the one who brings this up. Lukoa shows up while Kobayashi and Toru are still out, so it's just her and Ilulu watching over Kanna and Saikawa. And Lukoa basically kind of like traps Saikawa in the bathroom with Ilulu. Don't ask, it's weird. I mean, don't ask, it's not weird. It's just that's just where Ilulu happened to be. It's not like anything was happening in there. She was just hiding, but. Because I realized how weird that sounded. But Lukoa traps her in there basically as a way to show Ilulu that, like, humans are okay. Like they're good people. Like they're good. The people are good people, right? Like, not all of them, but most of them. And it's like, just because Ilulu has a violent past doesn't mean that other people don't, or that other humans don't. And it was basically just a way to sort of help her get over her past mistakes, where she feels like she's too violent to even be around these humans, that she feels like, because of how she almost tried to blow up the city, she doesn't deserve to be hanging out with them. And I found that really sad, because it's like, oh, Ilulu, see, this is what I mean, where I'm like, Ilulu's a good character, I want good things to happen for her, and it does end on a good note, and it's very sweet, right? But like, when Kobayashi and Toru show back up, they're like, oh, should we wake them up, because they're all asleep? And they're like, nah, just let them sleep. And I thought that was really, really cute. It was a good story for Ilulu this week. I thought they handled it very, very well. But of course, that's not the only story. We get two others. We also get Kobayashi's Maid outfit, which is where we find out that Kobayashi's parents and siblings kind of suck. Basically, they tell her that when she was a kid, she wanted to, because we know Kobayashi's been into maids forever. So she gets this maid outfit, like super cutesy maid outfit, and tries it on. And the family says it looks bad on her. And I didn't think so. I was a little surprised that they felt that way, but I was like, damn, all right. It was like this pink frilly maid outfit, and they were really harsh about it. And this sort of forced Kobayashi into wearing men's clothes pretty much from there on out. And even though she wanted to wear cutesy stuff, she just felt like that wasn't for her, and that's really sad. Like, that really bummed me out. And of course, like, Toru tries to rally the troops to try to figure out a good outfit that they can get for Kobayashi. And everybody tries their best. Like, Takia and Fafnir both try their best, but they weren't exactly thinking of what was best for Kobayashi. Like, my girl also tries to come up with something. It doesn't quite go that way. Lukoa's is also, like, a little too risque. And then there is Georgie, which, I'm gonna be honest, totally forgot Georgie existed. Like, when Georgie was there, I'm like, who is that? Oh, yes. Like, totally forgot Georgie existed. But there's a cute scene with the two of them where they sort of talk about the maid mentality and how the outfit isn't like what makes the maid. It's the outfit on the inside, right? Like, the heart of a maid. And I thought that was really cool. And that explains a lot, right? Like, Toru may not exactly be a great maid. Her outfit is very iconic, but it's not, like, as extravagant as the one that Kobayashi bought forever ago. The frilly pink one. But it's at the heart that's what really counts. And Toru, while she may not be the greatest maid of all time, she does have the heart of a maid, right? She has, like, a good heart. And I feel like that's the same thing with Kobayashi as well. Even though she can't rock certain outfits, it's what's inside that counts. And it's funny because everybody else is, like, drawing these outfits, and eventually they all just get fed up and they want to see what Toru drew, and it was nothing. That's because Toru really just kind of wanted Kobayashi to wear her outfit. And that was adorable. I loved that. I really liked the dynamic between Toru and Kobayashi. It goes a little far sometimes, I'll admit. Sometimes it's like, okay, Toru, I get it. Like, Toru does kind of, like, lust over Kobayashi, and we'll get to that when we get to the third story. But, like, do I think, like, that it goes a little over the top sometimes? Of course, right? Like, Toru definitely goes, like, a little crazy for Kobayashi, but it's cute. Like, that's the thing with Kobayashi's Dragon Maid as a whole, is, like, does it go over the top sometimes? Yeah. Is it my favorite KyoAni show? No, not really. But does it make me laugh and smile? Absolutely. Like, there's just something sweet about it. It's not my favorite thing ever. It's not my favorite KyoAni series. I don't even know if it cracked the top 5, if I'm super honest, but every time I watch it, I have a big dumb smile on my face. And maybe that's because KyoAni pours effort in, so even if it's not one of my favorites, it's still super, super good. And you can feel, like, the KyoAni warm, fuzzy vibes throughout the entire episode and throughout this entire show, if we're being honest. And again, at the end of this story for Kobayashi's little arc, we get some nice reaffirmation that Kobayashi really likes having Toru around, and it's just really sweet. And I love seeing these two interact and have fun. And it's just a good time. That's a Toru's story this week. Is Toru basically struggling to get a hobby, and this was a lot. Toru had, like, it starts off very genuine and then goes, like, off the rails by the end. Because Toru's struggling to find a hobby, right? Because she doesn't really know if she has one. Right, like she's a maid and she has a ton of free time, but she doesn't really know what else to do with herself. We see this a little bit in the OP, where Toru is, like, laying on the couch, sort of waiting for everyone to come home, and she's just kind of bored. And that is very telling of, like, her hobbies outside of, like, doing work around the house, right? She's a maid, but when she's not being a maid, she doesn't have a whole lot to do. And we see that in the OP, we see that in this particular story, that she doesn't really have a hobby, which I never really considered. That, oh yeah, Toru doesn't have any hobbies. She watches, like, an idol show, and then that sort of spurs her into thinking, like, okay, well, maybe music, and she goes and asks, like, the one neighbor who's, like, kind of like a metalhead into helping her out, and it turns out Toru can slay on the guitar, and we find out later that she's also, like, an absolute champ at wood carving from the other neighbor, but she doesn't really like it. And I think this is a really good lesson, right? Where it's like, you can be really, really good at something. Like, you can be super, super good at something and not like it. That's totally fair. Like, I can think of a few different shows when I was growing up that, like, actually had to teach that lesson, because I feel like a lot of people get this misconception that if you're good at something, that should be your hobby, right? You're really good at it, so therefore you must like it. But that's not always the case. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to like it or you have to keep doing it. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of things that other people are good at, like people who are, like you guys watching, that are good at something that you just don't really like that much, right? Like, as an example, I was gardening recently. I hate gardening. I hate it. I think it's so boring. I can't deal with it. But I did it, and I was okay at it, but I don't like it, right? Like, there's plenty of hobbies that you can do that you might be okay or good at, but you just don't like it. And I think that's perfectly fine. You have to have a passion for it. Which, of course, then leads into the big joke that once Toru finds a passion for it, she ends up being really good at all these things, and her passion is, of course, Kobayashi. So we end up getting a shit ton of Kobayashi merchandise that Toru makes as a hobby, and poor Ilulu and Kana are just like, Kobayashi, save yourself, like when she comes home. And it's a lot. There's a lot going on, and Toru is officially, like, love drunk crazy over Kobayashi by the end of the episode. And yeah, that was a lot. I feel really bad for Ilulu and Kana, because I don't know how I would have dealt with that. I don't know how Kobayashi's gonna calm her down either. But yeah, that's pretty much it, though. That's gonna wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I have to give a big, big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you'd like to join these beautiful people, there are two ways to do so. The first, for just a single $1, is by hitting that Patreon, the link in the description. That gets your name scrolling past the screen, and I'd sincerely appreciate it. Or you could check out that join button right beside the sub button. It's a wee bit more, but it also gets you a badge next to your name and some emotes to spam in the comments on top of your name scrolling past the screen. Either way, super, super appreciated. Thank you guys so much. Once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron, and that is it for me. So, until next time, bye!